we have a sound box to transfer the vibration and amplify the sound. And they have 12 arms, so each one can plug the strings. It's all guitar strings.
So this is Urban Alpinist. It's a big urban game. It's a game that uses height as a game mechanic. So the higher up you get, the more points you get. You have 1 hour to get to the 3 highest points you can in the city. It's an iPhone app.
This is an augmented reality ecosystem. It's actually designed for middle school and high school students to teach the fundamentals of evolution and natural selection. So in this world, it's complete augmented reality. As long as the camera can see the symbol, which you can see right there, it'll go ahead and render the 3D world on top of it. And then we can go ahead and interact with it. So if I wanted to, say, make the world a bit more green, I can add a green card. We can increase the amount of green in the world. Or maybe we want to mix in a little bit of red. We can increase the amount of red by showing the red card. And then depending on the environment that we create, the snails, which are the organisms that live in the world, will get eaten at a certain rate. In a red world, red snails won't be eaten as much because they can't be seen as much from the predators that swoop around from high up above them.
So it's an instant messaging system. It's just a delayed instant messaging system. It's two typewriters talking to each other, and they are fed with the same roll of paper. So eventually, what one typewriter is saying will get to the other typewriter, and the user will be able to read it upside down and answer 20 minutes later to what that other person said. And it starts to feed up like a feedback loop. So it starts getting like really complicated and reverse. And I use this as a performance in public spaces to invite people to talk to each other.
So Gotham Guide is the first self-guided tour of Manhattan using QR codes. And the idea behind it is that these codes are located all around the city, and when you get to them, you'll find either some sort of social content or some sort of content that was pre-recorded for you about the location that you're at.
Yeah, you can also change those pegs like this.
To change up the rhythm?
Yeah, and this is like that.
Someone said like if you commercialize it, and I was like, well, we weren't thinking of it as a commercial thing, but I guess we did. You can make it in this case of a bear, you can make it in this case of like anything that's really funny, anything that's clear, it works. And for all those who come by, you're off.
This project is called Data Spills. Basically what I wanted to do is create a way of remediating a work by Lucio Fontana. He did a series of paintings called slash paintings, which were monochromatic canvases that he had cut through with a knife. So the effect of that process was the background of the canvas sort of coming through into the foreground of the work. So I started thinking about how that might be translated to a digital medium when we're talking about bits instead of atoms and information instead of physical objects. I took video games as a model for that because they provide a pretty clear distinction between a foreground and a background, the foreground being the graphics of the game and the background being the program logic, the game mechanics, the rules of the game. So I started modifying these Nintendo games, and inside a cartridge you have two chips, and one of them contains all the program logic and one of them contains all the graphics data. So I started going into the memory location where the graphics data is stored and selectively cutting away sections of graphics data. What happens in that case is the program logic at the same memory offset is actually allowed to show through into the representational layer of the game.
So what it's doing is each time you turn the page, it's creating a new animal, and the way it's doing that is using a camera to track color change, and each time you turn the page, it's assembling an animal from a random collection of body parts and giving it a name based on the body parts. So right here you have Box from Box Turtle, Retrieve from Golden Retriever legs, Draw from a Hydra body.
It's called the 8-light ASCII display terminal, and what it it is, it's human language chopped off at the point of computer language, and then what's normally inside the computer that's very small is brought up to human scale. So the ASCII value, the number that represents every character, which is a binary 8-bit number, is shown in light.
The idea is to sort of animate the objects in our surroundings so that they cater to our emotional needs, not just our functional requirements. And I started off with a table lamp because it lends itself easily to be more expressive. And he not only responds, he doesn't only have visceral responses, but he also thinks about them and changes behavior over time. So if you don't interact with him for some time, he'll sort of curl up and go to sleep.